This Equipment World video is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Equipment World. You're watching The Dirt. I'm your host Brian, and today we're going to talk about technology, that big, bad, scary monster in the corner. Let's face it, most of us in this industry were the kids that were out playing in the dirt pile while our friends were inside playing video games. And so when it comes to technology, it's scary, it's expensive, we don't really understand it, and then if we go invest in this thing, are we really confident we're getting our money's worth? Well, here to talk about that with me today is Britton Lawson with Veit. He is the Director of Construction Technology, and so he is his company's champion for technology. Well, what does that mean? We're going to talk to Britton to find out.
But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its exhaust aftertreatment system has traditionally been seen as an either-or proposition when it comes to choosing the engine oil that's going to protect your system. And that's exactly why Chevron spent more than a decade of R&D work developing a no-compromise formulation. Now, I don't have to tell you why a clogged DPF is bad news, but here's the real kick in the pants. 90% of that ash clogging up your DPF and then upping your fuel and maintenance costs, it comes from your engine oil. You might be thinking, why don't they make an engine oil with less ash in it then? You'll be happy to learn that Chevron agrees with you. They've developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by 60%, radically reducing the rate of DPF clogging and extending the DPF service life by 2.5 times. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system. Now you don't. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. It's time to kick some ash.
Well, Britton, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you being on The Dirt.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, just to kind of give people a little background on you, what is your current role at the company you're at?
Yeah, I'm the Director of Construction Technologies for Veit and Company out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I sit under the operations umbrella. My day-to-day varies on every single day. It's a new challenge. So look a lot at our fleet management side of things, business intelligence, and then I oversee all of our grade control, survey group, and machine control side of the camp. So it's challenging, but it's fun every single day.
So really, when it comes to anything technology related at the company, you're kind of the man.
Part of, yeah. I mean, it's the internal technology champion, advocate, if you will. We've got two people that kind of sit under that operations umbrella that are advocates. I sit on the fleet side of the house. My counterpart kind of sits on the project management field to office, but we all have a little bit of say. So I'm a big part of that conversation and decision, and just trying to see how we can leverage all of our systems to communicate with each other, how we can get things out of them, how we can instill confidence in our teams so that they use them and trust the data that comes out of them and the information so that we can be better.
So kind of getting into our topic for today, why is it important for companies to embrace technology instead of just kind of continuing with the status quo of what they've done for the last 20, 30 years?
You know, I think it's all about evolving processes. And you know, when I first got into this role, it was, why do we do it this way, or what are we doing? Well, that's just the way we've always done it. So if it's not broke, it's that mentality. If it's not broke, you know, don't fix it, right? You know, we don't have to change anything. Change is hard. I know what I got to do to get my job done. It's one of those things that if we don't evolve and move with the industry and the business, we're going to get left behind. So we can do more work with less people by leveraging some of the technology. We can get data real time so that we can make better actionable decisions, so that we can be more profitable, so that we can be more efficient, so that we can move on to the next project. Like at the end of the day, you're spending that money with the people. So if you can still work with that amount of people and do more work, you're going to make more money, right? I think it's important to use some of those systems that are going to automate those processes so you can free time up of the current work staff or the staff that you have on, you know, within the company already, and be able to evolve their positions and grow and be able to do more in the same amount of time.
With your experience doing this kind of full time, what are some of the biggest areas within the dirt moving industry where we're seeing huge strides in technological advance, and what are kind of some of the areas that are the biggest bang for your buck areas, if you will?
You can look at it in a couple different spaces. From my perspective, I like the fleet intelligence stuff that we're getting. So all of our telematics data, how we're capturing data from the field mechanics, meter reading hours, all of our costing, things like that, so that we can better manage our fleet. But there's also the time card on the field staff, right? So the people actually performing the project. So I would say that would probably be the biggest thing right now. If, even on smaller fleets, smaller contractors, if you can really manage your costs and understand how much it really costs you to do a project, breaking it down into phase codes and having that real-time data so you can make decisions in the project early on. If you bid it to move, say, 400 yards an hour and you had bid it with, say, 4 off-roads and a 49-ton excavator, if you're not achieving that goal, if you're at 300 yards an hour, if you're asking time cards to be turned in every week, you're already a week behind. By the time you process payroll, you're a week and a half behind. By the time you actually make a decision going, holy cow, we're behind on this quantity, you've already lost money for 2 weeks. But if I can see today and tomorrow that I'm behind and I can make a decision to change up my operation or change the hauling units, add a hauling unit, whatever, then now I can mitigate all those losses early on. So construction has a lot of variables. It's not a controlled environment, especially in the dirt world, right? So there's unforeseen circumstances. What we think is hard clay going into it, we may run into soft spots where our round times are not up there. So if we can see that early on, I think that's the biggest bang for your buck and the biggest turn on the investment, right? Obviously, is having that field to office and that job tracking software so that you can know where you're at compared to the budget, compared to actual, and how you're moving the materials.
It is interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, when you think of technology in the dirt world, you immediately go to drones and GPS and laser grade systems. And yet you're saying one of the most impactful things is actually the management software you guys are using to track all of your personnel data and equipment data.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things. I mean, obviously GPS machine control is something that is extremely handy. Until you know what your costs are, you're never going to actually know how much that machine control is going to make you. You can't even see your costs come down if you don't know what your costs are, right? It's one of those things that, yes, you could get GPS and that's usually the sexy thing and you can get out there and that's going to save you immediate money. But on the same token, you have to build a model, you have to tie in, it adds steps in there. But if you can, with a project management software or with a time card software, now you know your costs. You are taking your payroll down to a digitized platform. So now you're saving money there. So you're streamlining your entire workflows before you even get in the field, right? Now you get in the field, now you invest in your GPS technology. Now you know how much you're saving. Now you know to the next project, you go, this is how much it costs us. And now you know what your margins are. You know how much you can bid something and be proactive about it. And then you start injecting machine control and GPS technologies in it. And now you can say, okay, GPS saves us X because we've been able to improve our efficiencies by this much. And I will say, I'll just add, smaller companies starting out, they have less people, they have less habits, so for them to be able to pivot and be able to go, yep, we're doing a software is so much easier than, for instance, a company our size, and we have 150 foremen or supervisors, and we're trying to change habits of 15, 20 years in terms of how we've done it. I think the smaller companies have some of that advantage to say, yep, this is the way we're doing it. There's a lot more direct communication with ownership, right? Because usually the owner's either in the field or bidding most of the projects. So it's coming from the top a lot faster. So,
well, you kind of led me right into my spin-off question, which is, traditionally when you talk about management software, a lot of guys go, oh, I'm way too small for that. I'm not going to need that till I hit X amount of employees. Or when would you recommend it? What size would you really recommend someone flipping over from an Excel spreadsheet to, hey, we need to really invest in this?
That's a great question. I guess I don't have the perfect answer for it, and it changes for every single contractor. Whether it's a landscape or whether it's dirt moving or however you look at it, you start with a digitized time card platform, right? So now you can digitize that workflow. You're not having manual entry, writing it down, having somebody redo that. So let's just get that out of the way right away. So just say, I'm employee number 1 because I own the company, right? You get employee number 2. Odds are you're going to get employee number 3 and 4 and 5. So whatever your growth strategy is or whatever your vision is, like if you're trying to get to 10 plus employees, why not get them on a digitized time card right out of the gate, invest the time. So you're saving that money in your accounting process, but then you're able to scale to the next point of knowing what your costs are and your cost codes or your item or phase codes, however you want to put it. There's savings across that entire platform early on. And it's just a matter of where you want to invest your money.
You described yourself as kind of a technology champion or an advocate within your company. Why, in your opinion, is it important to have someone that is an advocate for technology?
It's important to have that person as the advocate internally because they understand the business. They can work day in and day out. Inevitably, there's going to be people within the company that are in positions that are really good at what they do in terms of moving dirt. So my job is to support them and instill confidence in them to go, you're not going to break this system. They're not afraid to input the data. They're not afraid to use the data. They're not afraid to use the program, whether it be project management software or whether it be grade control. They're not afraid to break it because the downtime is minor if they can have a phone call or a phone a friend, essentially. And in the background, I'm saying to senior leadership or some of our other management and our VPs, if we did this, we can get X, Y, or Z because I understand the business. I understand how we're doing things. Let's just break it down into categories. So, on the survey or GPS machine control, you've got guys that are really good at running equipment, right? They're great dozer operators. But now you put a computer in their cab and some of them have flip phones. Some of them are not confident. They just use their smartphone, right? But if they have that phone a friend to go, how can I leverage this technology to make my life easier? Because all they're doing is hitting the easy button or the autos. But they're not using their horizontal offsets. They're not using some of the mapping features. They're not using some of the infield designs within the systems, things that can make their lives easier, get their projects done faster and move on to the next project. So, you go with the OEMs or you go with some of the software trainers and they may not have the experience in the dirt world. They're supporting and servicing multiple other contractors. So how fast the response time is on that. It's all about uptime, right? That's why we have a fleet of mechanics, is because we want to keep our yellow iron going. If we break a hydraulic hose, we want to get that hydraulic hose fixed, right? Same thing with our GPS. Like if the GPS goes down or we can't get a site set up, we just have to get it. We have to get it going now. We usually have a crew sitting there waiting to do that because we don't have stakes now. So now we're relying on that system. So I think that there's huge benefits to having a technology champion, but I think you should be intentional about it. In our instance, we've got 4 technology champions, right? That on the grade control side of things of the survey group. But when it comes to that, and that's their only job, so I understand that not everybody can do that. Other projects are going to go, or other companies are going to go project manager, technology champion, or they wear many hats, and I get that. But understanding that there's just as much importance on being that champion as there is some of their other duties and being able to make time, because inevitably you're going to come down to being a project manager or estimator, and you're going to see real dollars that you have to, do a change order. You have to estimate so that you can get dollars coming in. And obviously the models and the technology champion stuff is going to fall by the wayside, right? So you just have to be intentional about it and try and manage workload so that person can still have that part of the job.
I do like how you kind of broke down having the outside consulting, if you will, for the company on technology versus having someone internal. Because I can't tell you the number of times I've been on job sites where, and it's pretty common in the industry, here's new machine control. We're going to have the guy from SciTech or wherever come out, and he's going to spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes running through it with you, and then he's off the road. No one's going to be able to, especially this industry, like you said, with guys with flip phones, no one's going to be able to absorb all of that information in a half hour and be proficient at it. Versus if you have someone in the company that can internally kind of slowly peel back the onion layers on the technology, it makes it very digestible for your guys, and now all of a sudden it turns into a very effective tool for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to have that person that you have that relationship with that you can call. I mean, you're sitting in a dozer and going, I got to do this. How do I do this again? And you can just call them, they answer, and you don't have to wait for that phone call back. And I mean, in some sense, we're not answering our phones every single phone call too, but we have a higher priority for our company people, right? So versus a third party consultant that's busy with another contractor.
So my final question for you is, if I'm with a decent sized company and I've decided I want to pursue having an actual advocate for technology, what are some traits I should look for in an individual?
Just a curiosity, a yearn to learn, somebody that it's a passion. I would say probably the biggest thing is just a passion to leverage technology, that looks at it on their own time. Obviously, I'm on social media quite a bit, looking at other technologies, right? I've got a social media account that I share technologies and awareness to technologies, right? So just that curiosity, that yearn to learn, a mindset, a very open mindset, not somebody that's just very black and white. We have to do it this way. We have to go with this provider. And because we can't make them work across platforms or whatever it may be, but just that curious mindset, a yearn to learn, I think, and then that passion, I think, would be the three traits that I would really look for, and just an excitement for technology as a whole.
Well, thank you again for Britton for coming on the show, and hopefully this takes a little bit of the fear component out of technology. And as you can see, you can massively increase your efficiency and productivity with just the addition of some technology. And it's not the big, bad, scary monster that it seems. So as always, I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching The Dirt.